Hey there, everybody. My name is Danny Bader, and welcome to the Holy Spirit Summit. I want to just acknowledge you for showing up and spending some time here and investing in your faith. Because for me, I think that's what it's all about, really. How can we continue to grow stronger in Jesus's message and also grow stronger in living his message? Because it's one thing to know his message, it's a whole other thing to live it. And I think that this Holy Spirit Summit will certainly support you in that. I know it will support me. When I was asked if I would record a little video around the Holy Spirit, it was a very easy decision for me because the Holy Spirit is, for me, a tremendous source of my faith, of my belief in Jesus, and my support, really, the energy that I feel, the connection to that. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that. When I think back to growing up, I went to Catholic grade school, I went to Catholic high school, I went to Catholic college. I taught CCD when I was out and, I was older and I was married. We had a few kids. Our kids went to Catholic school, although I just felt a calling to support the CCD initiative with these young people. And I did, fifth, sixth grade when they were getting ready for confirmation, when they would receive the Spirit, because it's really important to me. Here's the thing, though, that I missed when I was growing up. Lots of stories in the Bible, in Jesus's life, about the Holy Spirit. The one I think of a lot is when they say, John and Matthew, Jesus was led by the Spirit into the desert to be tempted. Now, when I was younger, that didn't make any sense to me. I don't even know if it really registered with me. Now, though, as a 60-year-old man, of course, Jesus is led by the Spirit to be tempted. Because here's the thing, when temptation shows up, if you're connected to the Spirit, temptation will not win. The Spirit always wins. So that's one of the reasons you want to make sure that you really connect with the Holy Spirit. And the title of this talk is The Spirit Resides in Stillness. See, I think that the Holy Spirit is much more available to us when we disconnect from some of the craziness of the world and we really get into a still place. I think of some other stories around Jesus, and you think about Paul's conversion, right? Paul's knocked off the horse. He goes blind. Then Ananias comes to the house and says, all right, I am sent. He said this. He said, Jesus, who appeared to you on the road as you were coming here, has sent me so that you may see again, vision, and be filled with the Holy Spirit. Now, interesting in that story too, Jesus took away his vision, because when you think about the physical vision of our eyesight, there's also the other word vision, which means, okay, what's the big picture here? What do I imagine to be real? What do I want to have real? And when I think about vision, and I think about Saul's vision was really to persecute and kill Christians. So when Jesus took away his physical vision, he also took away a piece of that. Here's what I'm up to in life. Now, Saul's vision became what? He became Paul, and let me go out and preach your word and preach your message. And when he did it, he got the Holy Spirit. So Jesus goes into the desert to be tempted. The Holy Spirit's with him. Saul gets converted, comes back, gets cured. The Holy Spirit's with him. I also heard a story one time about Jesus was staying with Peter and Peter's mother-in-law. And in the morning, Peter wakes up and Jesus is not there, and he can't find him, and he starts to panic a bit, Peter does. And he finds him walking along the shore in the early morning, right in the stillness and the peace. So now I'm not going to make any correlation between staying with a mother-in-law and the need to get away and connect with Spirit. That's up to you. Just an interesting story. So you see where the Spirit shows up. Now, how it showed up for me is this. I've written 4 books: Back to Life, Abraham's Diner, I Met Jesus for a Miller Lite, and Taking the SH*T out of the show. And, when I go into corporate and I do some of my talks, a lot of times people see Jesus and they go, oh, is that religious? It says Jesus. And I usually respond, it says Miller Lite too. It's really just a story. And it is. Jesus comes back and supports a young man named Michael and some of his friends as they're challenged with the struggles of life. Jesus drives a convertible Camaro. He's got an iPhone, and he wears a New Orleans Saints hat. It's kind of like the current version of Oh God, if you remember that, with George Burns and Warren Beatty. And then the first book, Back to Life, is based on a real life event that happened to me when I was almost 29. A friend and I that I was working for were doing some construction, some roofing on a house. And at the end of the day, we were lowering a metal ladder that we thought would be clear of the electric lines. And it wasn't. We tragically hit the electric line that had 8,000 volts in it, down the metal ladder, into both of us. Went in my hands, out my feet. I had holes in each side of each foot. Went out my foot, my socks, and my boots. And it killed me. And it killed my friend. And then about after 6, 7, 8 minutes, according to an eyewitness who performed CPR on me and then gave me up for dead because it wasn't working, then I came back to life. My buddy didn't. We lost him that day, a beautiful man. So I was in the hospital for 10 days. I get out. My buddy's buried, right? His wife's a widow. His 3 kids don't have a dad any longer. And I really abandoned my faith. I made a choice to just say, you know what, God, you really screwed this up. It should be me, if it's anybody, because how can you let a 36-year-old father, husband, wonderful man, that just doesn't make sense to me. So I'm not sure all this that I learned about you, God, over all these years, I don't know that I want it anymore. I don't know that I need it anymore. And for a couple of months, I struggled, drinking way too much for all the wrong reasons, getting stoned a little bit and just engaging in activities that I thought would numb the pain. And they did, I guess, but only temporarily. They really didn't solve anything. So one day I decided that I was going to go to the Outer Banks of North Carolina with the intention of not coming back. I got down there, and one particular day I went out to buy a hose because I was going to drive my truck onto the beach, my Jeep onto the beach, and put one end of the hose in the tailpipe and the other one in the window and just leave the engine running because life had beat Danny Bader. And I didn't that day. An angel of mine showed up in the hose aisle. She was about 5 foot tall, 80 years old, bright blue eyes, sitting above a bright white smile. And I think there are angels. I know there are angels among us. They may not be with the swords and the halos and the wings 8 feet tall. There are people who are immensely filled with the Spirit that will show up and cross our paths once in a while just when we need it. And that's what happened for me. She said something. I never saw her again. I can't ever even remember what she said. I don't even know if I heard what she said. And I didn't buy the hose. I did the next best thing. I drank a lot of beer and a lot of tequila. And so now I'm coming out of the bar and I'm walking back to my motel where I was staying, and I'm half drunk, maybe 3/4. And I see a phone booth. Now, young people, when I show the slide of a phone booth in my talks, they get a very confused look on their face. Anyhow, they usually say to me, I would tell them that you went in there to talk with somebody, and they go, is it like FaceTime? And I'm like, no, not like FaceTime. And then I tell you had to put money in, nickels, dimes, and quarters. And that's nickels, dimes, and quarters are it's foreign concept. They want to know if they could use Venmo. And I'm like, no, you don't get it. Anyhow, when I went into that phone booth as a broken down, faithless man, faithless, I called my mom. We chatted for just a few minutes. She said, when are you coming home? We can't wait to see you. I had a lump in my throat the size of a softball. And I cried and I said, you know what, Mom? I'll be home in a few days. I love you too. And I walked out of the phone booth and something changed. A little voice in my head, right? My vision, the voice, it said, I wonder what it's going to be like when I get better. Now, the poet Rumi said that there's a voice that doesn't use words. It's an energy. And I believe he's talking about the Spirit. So when I walked out of that phone booth, I've come to understand that it wasn't me walking out. I think Jesus walked out. He took me off his back because he had been carrying me for months and I didn't even know it. And he put me down. And I'll often say, I tried to throw in the towel. When you throw in the towel, I'm done, defeated, throw in the towel. I tried to throw in the towel and Jesus threw it back to me and said, Danny, wipe your face. We're not finished yet. And that was the pivotal moment. That was the epiphany I had in this struggle. That was the Holy Spirit filling me. Because there's a fourth energy, and I call it the Spirit. You've got your heart, you've got your brain, you've got your lungs. They contribute to your body going. The fourth energy is your spirit. It's the divine. It's God inside of us. That's the key. This is what I can't really figure out, and I've stopped trying now. I'm not God, yet God's within me. You're not God, and God is within us. So if God's within us, the Spirit's within us, right? Because we got the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. And that source of energy, that fourth energy, man, can that keep us faithful? Can that keep us living Jesus' message? And can that give us the strength and support we need when life challenges us? Because God is not up there sitting on a chair pulling the strings, making bad things happen to you. Life unfolds. People get sick. We lose people we love. Divorce happens. Wars happen. Guys lower ladders into an electric line. The world just unfolds because we're human. And I've come to understand that because it does unfold that way with its struggle and with its tragedies and its traumas, that's even more reason to connect with the Holy Spirit. So I am convinced when I went to the Outer Banks of North Carolina, and my mom said, "Why are you going? It's quiet, it's desolate, it's a closed up beach town." That's why I was going. I didn't want anybody around. I didn't want anybody there. I didn't want anybody who knew me when I performed the act that I thought I was going to perform. So here's the thing. I am convinced, my friends, it was the stillness of that deserted beach town in October that allowed me to hear what I needed to hear. Not with ease. It allowed me to hear here. It was in that stillness that I heard the Holy Spirit. And it didn't use words. It just filled me with joy and love and resilience and forgiveness. And it was the beginning of me moving back and getting better and moving through that trauma. It didn't happen right away. And I'll tell you, if I didn't have the Holy Spirit, it would not have happened. It would have been a different outcome. So you think about as we get ready for Pentecost, or it may be past now in May, that's really when the Spirit came into the world. We know Jesus was filled with the Spirit, but then when he had all his apostles and they're gathered up in that locked room and the wind, right? Oftentimes the Spirit is associated with wind. It came, man, and it came powerfully. But when you think about it again, they're up in the locked room. They're all very, very quiet and they're scared. So it's still. What I would encourage you to do is create more times of stillness in your life with the absolutely sole focus during that stillness is to connect with Spirit, right? In spirit. Think about our word inspired, right? That comes from in spirit. That God is within us. That's what we want to work towards. So you remember Abraham Maslow had the hierarchy of needs. Many of you probably remember that. If not, you can Google it. And the base need was security, air, shelter, water, food, right? And then it moved up from then. It moved up from belonging, purpose, and those things all the way up, family and people, all the way up to, to becoming the best version of ourselves. Self-realization is what he called it. And there were 5 levels with food, water, shelter. That was all at the base. You need this first, to continue to grow into who you want to be. And I would suggest that we put another level there on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, a bottom level, a 6th level. And don't tell Abraham Maslow I'm messing with his model, even though he died in the 1980s, I think. I would put one down there called Connect with Spirit. Because for me, that is way more important than food, water, shelter. And we've heard survival stories. You've seen them. Hollywood makes movies. Somebody's out on a boat with no water. Somebody's trapped in the mountains with no food for a long, long time. And what do they come back and talk about? The human spirit. I survived because the human spirit is strong. Yeah, well, think about a human spirit. It's the Spirit of God in us as human beings. Boom. Connect with it, and we're going to be good. So again, I have been very, very thankful to spend some time with you and kind of just chat. I didn't really prepare this too much. I didn't want it to be like a speech. I wanted it just to be, one Catholic, one follower of Jesus talking to others. And one thing that I really, really like is I'm going to show you right now. We have this in our kitchen there. And I've given this to quite a few young couples when they get married. It's the fruits of the Spirit. So what this suggests is that when you are connected to Spirit, you are much more in line, and the characteristics of Jesus are much more available to you. What are those characteristics? Think about Jesus. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. When you are connected with Spirit, you've got more of these. And with these, it's much easier to live Jesus' message. And here's the thing. When I died, there's no question that my spirit went back to God. No question I got a taste of that. When your heart and brain and lungs stop and your body stops, your spirit's going to continue on. And here's the thing. I want to get back there again. I'm in no hurry. I enjoy my life. I got a beautiful wife and 3 kids and a lot of wonderful people. And I enjoy this life. And I want to make sure that I get back to heaven again. When you connect with Spirit and you live these, you live Jesus. And I think getting back to heaven then is a done deal. So wishing you all the best. Take care and God bless.